Yeah, hi.
Hi. Nice to
Hi.
meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Firstly, I want to thank you for giving your valuable time to me and allowing me to talk with you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, uh, I thought to introduce you to my audience. I'm from India. I'm a YouTuber. I do videos with different country people. I'll take
Yes.
interviews. So, yeah.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, can
I
you
have a
introduce
YouTube
yourself?
channel, but
You have you.
I don't broadcast. Yeah, I don't broadcast. I just like things and I have favorites, and eventually I'll make some book trailers. You know. Yeah, I
Awesome.
used to do video a lot, but I'll talk to you about why I want to speak with you today. I'm Deborah Taylor French, and I've written a book called Red Sky at Night, Dog Leader Mysteries. And I wrote it, and I also have a blog of the same name, Dog Leader Mysteries, as a blog. I have a blog in the same name, and it's for to save dogs' lives and dog lovers' sanity. So, meeting you now, that's my introduction.
Okay. So, you're from California.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Okay.
and I've had dogs my whole life. My dad brought home one of our dogs actually in his jacket pocket and had us go look in the closet for this squirming little thing.
Yeah.
But all my other dogs have been older dogs that I have
Yeah,
adopted.
my small request. Sorry to interrupt you. Can you put your camera upwards so that yeah, no no
Higher up,
just straight so that you can fit in the
straight.
screen the entire
Do
screen.
I? Oh, you want
Yeah
it a
yeah
little lower.
yeah
Ah, I
yeah yeah
see.
yeah
Okay,
so that viewers can see you clearly. Yeah
good, good.
yeah. So yeah, you were telling something.
Pardon?
You was telling about dogs.
Oh, yeah, dogs. So I started writing. I've written a lot of things over my life, but one of the biggest stories I've written that started me was for my little dog here, who is Punk Rocker. That's his nickname, Punk Rocker, because he was found and kept in the shelter for 5 weeks because he biting people's fingers, even though he's tiny. He was a real devil. So we got him at 1 year old. So he's the one that started me out on writing dog stories. And I made it very funny because he's funny. And that led to my first novel where I spent a long time doing, I did lots of drafts to try to figure out what I was really, I knew I wanted dog characters, but not like the Disney talking dogs, but like real dogs, dogs that people have in their homes that are behaving or misbehaving. So that's what I started with, was that idea of which character. And one of my dogs named Nabisco, something like a cracker, he inspired a character in that first novel. And I'm working on two more books in that series.
Okay, so you didn't said why you accepted me to talk with you.
What?
You didn't accepted why you allowed me to talk with you.
Oh, I wanted to talk to you. Number one, I wanted to meet you. I was interested. I saw you on Instagram, and I don't very often look for other people to meet right away, but you're one. I thought, well, that's very interesting what you're doing, interviewing people for short bits, not doing these long things. And most people don't listen to or watch longer stuff unless they're watching a movie. So I thought that it would be fun to try a video with you. Be brave, try something out. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for that. So I'll tell more about you to my audience. So what actually made you to think about dogs and what actually made you to talk about dogs and tell about dogs to the world?
Well, I have to say, I have raised five adopted dogs. All dogs came to me older than a year old, at least 1 year old, and they were discarded and either thrown into the animal shelter where they would have been killed, or they were simply just abandoned. And people found them and put them in animal shelters, but there's a limited lifespan. So I was able to, over the time, take every quote unquote bad dog that other people didn't want and turn them into a really wonderful dog. Yeah. So it's part of it's your bonding with the dog, and part of it's really listening to the dog and finding out what works for them. Because even though there's hundreds of training sessions, There is no one perfect way to deal with a dog. It's just like a child. You have a child and you have another child. You find out both the children are very different from each other. You think, oh, I'm going to do it like I did it with my first child. It doesn't work sometimes. So I want people to know that it's not as hard as they make it, and that they can take a dog, a rescue dog, or an adoptive dog, and turn it into a lifelong family great dog.
Can I say you're a dog psychologist?
You could say that I'm an amateur dog behavioralist because I'm interested in looking at their behavior. Yeah, yeah, animal behaviorist. I'm very interested. If I went back to college, I probably would just study dog behavior, canine behavior, or animal behavior. I'm very interested in them, have since I was little. So that motivated me when I saw these dogs being basically, I was told that, and it's true still, 25% of all dogs land in an animal shelter. That means as soon as they're bred, they go to their first family. And if they fail out because that family doesn't want them or they're moving or whatever their excuse is, they're going on vacation. Believe me, this is some of the things that people say when they surrender a dog to a shelter. And most of these shelters end up killing the dogs because there's no home. So I learned that the 25%, I had two beautiful Keeshond dogs that were rejected as puppies, and they were wonderful dogs. They trained up really nice. They were happy to train, and certainly even my little mutzo down here, Sydney, who's a poodle mix, smart little creature, is also a dog that upset other families and works out well in our family because we pay attention to his needs, and he's very bonded to us and will do a lot of things for us that maybe he wouldn't do for someone else.
Have you heard a dog barking in the beginning of the video from my side?
I think I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you say why that is doing that?
Can what? Oh, can you
Why?
stop the
Why?
dog barking?
Yeah. Why dog is barking in
Well,
this night
what?
time?
Well, it's a joke. You could say because people talk, you can't stop them from talking, right? Well, dogs bark, and sometimes they're saying, come get me, or I'm alone, or I'm scared. And sometimes they just say, I like hearing my voice, and so I'm going to be barking. And it takes a family. Like you heard my dog bark before, but you don't hear him now, right? It takes a family to be able to focus on that dog and teach it not to bark. And there's many ways to do that. There's also a little machine that you can get. I was told to do this for my neighbor's dog. You take it outside, and when the dog starts saying, I love my voice, and I'm going to tell you all about it, you can turn this little sound wave on, and it tells the dog that's not a good thing to do. So I don't care if this person's dog barks, when he feels like it, sometimes, but I don't want him barking nonstop. That's a sign of a very upset and neglected dog, or a dog that's in pain, because they're trying to say, listen to my story.
So why humans are locking the dogs in their homes? Why can't they be free? Why can't the humans
Oh,
leave dogs freely? Why they are locking it?
that's an excellent question. I'm going to reshift here for a second because number one, at least here in America, we have lots of traffic, and dogs are never going to understand traffic. Even beautiful dogs that I've known that have been very calm and would sit on someone's front yard with no tie down for years, suddenly got up. This beautiful dog, a Keeshond, and he ran out under a car. And after that, he was alive, but he had epilepsy. Dogs can get a lot of the problems that we have. They can get asthma. They can get other issues. They can get sinusitis. My dog now has sinusitis for the first time. And he's 15 years old. He's never had it before. None of my dogs have ever had it before. But most of my dogs, because I've taken such good care of them, they have hardly ever been to a vet. They go for shots, yes, and for a checkup, but they don't have emergencies because I'm looking ahead as a leader saying, what would a dog do in this situation? I better put a leash on him. I won't take him out the front door because within 500 yards is extremely fast street where people go 60 miles an hour. But I have been in countries like Bali and some other countries where dogs walk free and that people feed them, but they don't usually take care of their vet bills. See, if you're sick, hopefully somebody you love will take you to the doctor. But if your dog is sick, what are you going to do? You have to take that responsibility on, that they become a family member for your life. And it's very good for children. My daughter's become a natural dog whisperer. She's very good with all animals. We had rabbits. We have a house rabbit now. And she now has a cat that lives inside, because I said every cat I ever had got run over, including my mother ran over our own cat late in life, because they sleep under tires. They don't understand the tire's going to move. It's nice and warm, and then they get under and it's nice and cool. So that's why dogs can't just roam free. They don't understand human society. They don't understand the dangers. But in some places up in the woods, I know I've read a couple of books on this, authors and dog lovers have been able to let their dogs go down to a little village and come back, and get very involved with the whole social life, go visiting from house to house. But it's not the same. It's not the same environment. You understand that?
Uh, yeah, I understood. I understood every point of yours. And my question is that not restricting creatures? Yeah, human is restricting the creatures, by putting the laws and not allowing it to do what they wanted. Actually, we created a world where everything is packed, like a social
Mm-hmm.
structure, and we have certain
Yes.
rules, and we created rules for the animals also, which are
Right.
which are
Right.
living freely in their own zone. We are picking them from their zone, and we are when that is entering into our world, and we are feeling that they are going wrong. Actually, they are going correct. Actually, we created all the rules. What do you say
Well,
that?
well, you can say that about animals. I don't believe in bringing in a wolf to your house. Wolves are not going to be satisfied, or even wolf hybrids. There's been many people that have raised them. And for the most part, some people have been very lucky and very talented with them. But in general, they hate being caged up. And so I would never say bring a wild animal into your house, not a monkey. Don't bring a wild animal into your house. Cats and dogs have been living with us for probably at least 5,000 years or more, quite probably a lot longer, because we know that first they came into caves and we fed them the old bones and the leftovers, and they ate our garbage. So we didn't have to have a garbage service, and our cave was cleaner. And then pretty soon, I'm sure at some point, somebody found a pup and decided the pup didn't have a mom, and they found a way to feed it. So those animals are very different than domestic animals. A dog actually is used to being tuned into a human far better and far more intensively than they are to other dogs many times. Certain dogs, like my dog here, he likes other dogs. He wants to play with them. But at the end of the day, he wants to go home with me. He chooses to look around. And the good sign of somebody who's taking very good care of their dog, if you watch them walking them on a leash, the dog every once in a while will stop and look back, or just look over their shoulder at the person who's their parent or who's their caregiver. And that lets you know that bond is very important to the dog, and their lives depend on it in many ways. That's why I wrote Dog Leader Mysteries, because I want people to know that it's not so hard, and they can learn how, especially people new to dog adoption or having a dog, they can learn to understand dog behavior without spending a lot on training, and they can train them themselves. When I went and first wanted to train up some new dogs, I went to the library and I got books, and they were excellent books. I ruled out the ones that were what you call force kinds of training. I never use force, it's all positives. And there's food, lots of food involved. And of course, if there's lots of food involved, the dogs are extremely happy. That's the way they originally bonded with us. So by giving them small treats, they begin to think, "Oh, this is a great thing. I'll do it. I can do this thing." Sitting is really easy. Even little puppies learn it. But older dogs can be trained up to be very happy in your home, inside or out. Now, they would prefer you took them for walks, or walk someplace that smelled stinky, because they like stink, right? Very different from humans. Don't give them perfume or flowers. They really enjoy they get so much information. If you take a dog up, they've done this experiment, into a helicopter and you've thrown someone's sweatshirt that they've smelled before. This is a scent dog, and you then you go over the city and fly over it. The dog will know within 1 block where that person's scent is. That's how sensitive a dog's nose. They have millions of times more receptors than we have in our nasal capacity. We have lost that over time, over evolution. So dogs know a lot about things that we don't know, and that's why dogs are they're sniffing out breast cancer. They're sniffing out other kinds of illnesses and cancers. And when they did COVID-19 virus. They wanted to see if dogs could tell whether somebody had it or didn't have it. Guess what? The dogs were accurate to like 98%, where the other tests were not that accurate. So we know that dogs know a lot more than we do. We have a lot to learn from them.
My grandfather is a veterinary doctor, and he's animal doctor, and he served as a I mean, he was a government servant, and he worked for more than 30 years, I think, for the government, and
Wow.
he also worked after retirement. He worked in a private thing where the buffaloes and cows, and he worked in studying them and in giving them the medicines which are needed. He's very experienced. Recently, last year in this month, he died. The next month,
Oh,
he
I'm sorry you
expired.
lost him. He sounds like he was an amazing person.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, to be able
So
to relate to all those animals and help
his
them, keep them healthy.
his name is Dr. K Anantachary, and he's from
Beautiful.
India. He's from India, and I used to spend a lot of time with him, and he used to tell me about the animals like you are saying right now. So he used to he used to tell me all these things, and the thing that I observed in him is whenever he gives an injection to a dog, or whenever he goes to somebody calls him and tells him to give the treatment. uh, you know so one day I went to a house, and he gave an injection, and he was explaining about the medicine and all, but I was not connecting to it. I was not understanding that terminology.
Yeah.
uh, but the thing is, he was wearing every gloves and all, and he gave the injection, and and when I said, when I asked him, why can't we put a dog in our house so that it can be, it can be with us like us, and he never encouraged dog to be in home, and he used to be very very secure when he's giving a medicine to a dog, or he
Hmm.
feels that that is very dangerous and it is poisonous, and whenever he treats a dog, when dog sucks, he goes and takes the anti treatment, like
Hmm.
the vaccine and all. He used to be
Right.
that strict. So what do you think is dogs are dangerous? I mean, the whatever the water comes out from the dog, and that is injurious or poisonous to human being if they
Um,
live with human beings in the house.
well, I don't think dogs are dangerous to human beings. I've lived with dogs, like I said, since I was a little girl. We had several dogs as I was growing up, mostly smaller dogs. And the amazing thing was the dog that was most neglected when I was a young adult, Buttons. It was anyway. She, as soon as we got her out, she would do everything. She learned so much after several years in her life, and I had taken her out, took her to Santa Cruz where I was living, walked her on the beach, walked her in the mountains. We took long hikes. But one thing she would never do for us, she would never walk on a leash. As she would wear a collar, she would wear a harness, but she would not wear a leash. And I learned to respect that because she just would sit down. And there's some dogs that do that. You'd have to drag them. They won't walk on a lead. But this dog was so clever that she stayed with us. And if I said to her, and I did at one point, I said, now you lay down and stay there. I would go inside a little store, not close to a busy highway, but inside a little store. I would buy a couple of items for food. and I would come out with some water for her, and people would say, "How is she doing that? Why is she doing that?" I said, "I don't know. She's a dog that has talents that my family never found out because I didn't train her." And she practically trained herself. So it's being sensitive to the dog and seeing what they want to do, the positive training, right? Not the negative training. Okay, we're not talking about force. We're not talking about military methods or Caesar Malalan, nothing like that. You want to do this very positive thing where the dog will do more for you than you ever imagined if you're willing to listen to the dog. So I don't think dogs are hurtful for people to have in the home. But I do think people who like very large dogs have to be very careful that they don't get frightened or upset and bite someone. That does happen. My little dog bites, but I don't even usually, no blood happens on my fingers. But I would be horrified if someone brought in a giant, a very giant dog and then didn't train the dog because the dog wouldn't obey just anyone. They generally want their main, what my friend called as a resource. She's the best trainer. And she said the resource is the one who feeds them, makes sure they're safe, and lets them sleep and relax. I'm going to show you my dog if I can right now.
Wow.
Can you see him?
Yeah.
that's that's Sydney. He's the most terrible dog I've ever had, and he's delightful too. He's got a great personality. Yeah.
So, do you know about Leica Dog? Leica? Have you heard
like
about it? The
like a
name. The name of the dog is Leica.
like a
Yeah.
where does this dog live, or is it a dog that's no longer living?
Yeah. That dog was sent to the space, and it was instead of sending the human being, they have sent a dog to the space. I think Russia or United USA,
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
space
That's
research
right. I do.
center.
I do remember that, and I felt terrible because they didn't bring her down, did they? Did they bring
Yeah.
her down? I don't think they
No,
had the
no,
ability to
no.
land, and
They they
that was very
they tried
upsetting.
to, yeah, they tried to
Then they sent a monkey.
rotate.
Same thing. I think
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's
And
animal abuse.
yeah, that is what my question is. What do you say about this? Because the dog died. They tested. They thought that to move that machine around the earth for 2 or 3 times,
Mm-hmm.
for 1 round or 2 rounds. The dog was in observation,
Mm-hmm.
and they were seeing it. And maybe for 1 or 1.5 round,
Mm-hmm.
it lost its life. And
Yeah.
then if you see in I don't know the exact place in United States or Russia, there's a big dog. If you go to internet and see, there's a big statue of that Leica,
Mm.
Lyca. Yeah, the Leica.
It's been a
So
long time that I've been reminded of that dog. Yes, I just forgotten its name, but I do remember they set up a dog in space, and I would think I was pretty young, so I was pretty mad about it. Yeah, I get pretty mad about animal abuse, and that's another reason why I write my books, Dog Litter Mysteries, and the blog, is so that people can get some of their questions answered, and so people can think of things, really simple things. One thing, the average thing is you put a collar on a dog, right? You put a
yeah,
collar on a cat, you put a collar on a dog, but then people pull on that. Well, they have the same thing we have. They have the trachea there. They have delicate organs, and if you jerk too hard, you can kill your dog or hurt your dog terribly.
yeah,
And I watch people really stupidly do this. That's why I'm always about harnesses. If you can afford a nice harness that fits the dog snugly and is comfortable, harness is much safer. You still could hurt the dog from the harness, but not nearly as easy as jerking on the collar. You don't need to jerk on a dog, but I know that some people think they need to, you know, manhandle the dog. And I'm very much against that. I'm very much for understanding the dog. If you are daily walking your dog, they're not going to need to be jerked on. They're going to get plenty of exercise. If you have a big dog, be ready to run for a couple of miles. I love it when I see people who are runners and they have big or mid-sized dogs because they need about 2 hours of hard exercise a day. And the old saying is, a tired dog is a good dog. So you saw a picture of my Sydney. Sydney gets walked. He gets to go out in the backyard. He gets to play. Today he tried to get me to play chase, but I didn't have time because I was meeting with you. So it's just like being a good parent, being responsible to whoever you've got in your home. when you take a dog in, you should really think about it. It's not something you just go out and buy like a car. You should look at it's not so much the way the dog looks, but the way the dog behaves and the kind of exercise it needs. I wanted those big white Samoyeds. You've probably seen them before. They look rather wolfish and they have a thick coat like a husky. And when I read that it needed 2 to 4 hours of hard exercise a day, I went, that's not the right dog for me. I can't do that. I was going to adopt a baby, and I did. And so I knew I wasn't going to have 2 to 4 hours to exercise a dog. So people should really look into the dog's health and the kind of dog that you're looking for, not just take any old, oh, I like that one, it looks handsome, I'm taking it. I see people all the time, they keep their big giant, they're giant dogs. It could be like a bigger boxer, or I'm trying to think even a bigger dog. It could be like a German Shepherd, and they keep them in a crate in the house. Now that's cruelty. That's cruelty. And if you imagine taking a toddler and putting a collar on them and jerking on the collar, or keeping them in a crate, 5-10 hours a day, that's cruel. And that's another reason that I want to speak out and I wanted to talk to you, is that if people want to have a dog, they need to think about the dog's needs, not just what they want, but what kind of dog fits in with my life that I can take good care of. A lot of people want little dogs for that reason, lap dogs. But the funny thing is, sometimes little dogs don't like being lap dogs. My dog didn't really like it till he was much older, even though he's small. And some of the big dogs I know, they're definitely ready to get on your lap. And you have to watch out because they can hurt you, if you don't say, wait a minute, you have to sit there on the floor. You have to teach them that, even from a puppy, that at a certain point, they're going to be on the floor and not crawling up in your lap or stepping on you. Can hurt.
So, what dog lovers and dog feeders from your books can understand, can get information?
Actually, each of my books, the first one and the next two, have actually live scenes. So it's like kind of being in a movie. In one example is my character, Nevada, California, Shimino. She's about a 12-year-old girl, and she's learning from her grandmother, who is a dog behaviorist, and she's learning how to understand each dog that she takes care of. Well, she knows from experience is you never chase a dog unless you want the dog to just run forever, because they can. They have 4 legs and they're much faster than we are. So you want that person. I show them her doing it wrong, opening the front door, thinking her friend is out there, and the dog that normally stays with her suddenly bolts and starts chasing a truck down the street. I mean, that's like the worst case scenario. And she starts to chase him like she did when she was little, maybe 4 or 5. And then she remembers and she runs back into the house and starts whistling and clapping and calling his name, and he comes rocketing back into the house. Okay, so that's, I guess, dog psychology, behavioral. A dog is built to run. They love to run. It's a game for them. They don't know the dangers of running in a human society and what can happen to them. So just like we train our children not to wander in certain situations, or we hold their hands, we need to do that for dogs all the time. They're always dependent on us for their health and their safety. That's probably a good place to end, don't you think?
Yeah. So, do you have, do you have anything to say to my audience and to the world who watches this video from anywhere on this planet?
I would love it if you would come to my website, Dog Leaders, take a look at that, or look at the reviews on Amazon of Red Sky at Night, Dog Leader Mysteries. I think you'll find it educational and lots of fun. I'm a very high active person. I used to be a dancer. So my books are not dull. It's not about someone going around thinking about their problems. I mean, the characters in there think, but it's much more full of activity and animals. And my second book's going to focus on some horse training too. So
Awesome.
thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
So, can I put this video on my YouTube channel, this recorded video call on my YouTube channel with your permission?
I would love it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving your valuable time and telling about dogs. And I came to know something which I don't know.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.